Now, in chapter 10 of Baruch Spinoza, Political Treatise is about democracy. And I've explained in the previous video that he didn't finish writing this chapter, and we don't even know whether he was thinking of writing more chapters after chapter 10. Now, of course, he starts off by defining what democracy is. And if you've watched my other videos, there's a video, I think it's the first video where I talk about aristocracy. And I did say that, or I do say in that video that reading that part, I was a little bit confused in the way he was defining aristocracy and in particular comparing it to democracy. But reading chapter 10, it's now very clear to me what he was referring to. I think I misunderstood his words because it felt to me like the way he was describing aristocracy seemed like that was more of democracy and democracy was more of aristocracy. And the one part that confusion came from is where he was saying, like in democracy, somebody gets the right to a political office because it's a birthright. And then aristocracy, somebody gets it because of not really a birthright, but because they are either appointed or selected. And I was like, that seems like he's putting things upside down. But now I understand what he meant by birthright. He didn't mean like of all people, there are particular people who have this particular birthright of getting to political power. What he meant is in democracy, the laws are designed in such a way that they give every individual, or the majority people, the birthright to either vote or seek to get into political office. So that's where the confusion came from for me. Now, this is what he says about democracy, and like he did with aristocracy, he does the same with the chapter on democracy, where he kind of like is trying to compare aristocracy and democracy. Now, this is what he says: in an aristocracy, it depends on the Supreme Council will and free choice only. That is, or that man is made a patrician, so that no one has the right to vote or fill public office by inheritance, and that no one can by right demand this right, as it is the case in democracy. So he says in aristocracy, someone getting to the political office depends on the will of the other patricians, but that is not the case with democracy. Democracy is people have a right to get to either make decisions, which is through voting, or to seek political office. He continues to say, for all who are born of citizen parents or on the soil of the country, or who have deserved well of the republic, or who have accomplished any other conditions upon which the law grants to a man right of citizenship, they all, I say, have a right to demand for themselves the right to vote in the Supreme Council and to fill public offices, nor can they be refused it, but for crime or infamy. So he says when it comes to democracy, it is the law that decides who, and for the most part, almost everybody has that chance of either being able to make decisions of the political decisions, either through voting or directly, or they also have that opportunity that they can be elected to go and serve in a political office, which is basically the democracy we know today. And now reading this chapter, I get to understand that the understanding of democracy of Baruch Spinoza is not any different from the understanding we have today of democracy. There are a few differences though, and I'm going to create another video that explains those few differences. And in fact, one of those differences is very controversial in today's world. I don't think it was in his world, but it's very controversial today, and I'm going to create a video explaining that. Now, he continues to say, if then it is by a law appointed that the elder men only who have reached a certain year of their age, or the firstborn only, as soon as their age allows, or those who have contributed to the republic a certain sum of money, shall have the right of voting the Supreme Council and managing the business. So he says, of course, in today's world, in most countries, or in most democracies at least, often what you need to vote is just to be a citizen, which means you are born in that country of parents who are citizens, and you reach a certain age, say to 18 or 21, and then the law recognizes you as someone who has the right to vote, and in fact the right to seek political office. Of course, there are few things that might stop you, which I'm going to talk about. In today's world, of course, the most obvious is if you, especially not for voting really. Yeah, for voting, it happens that in some countries, if you are in prison, you can't vote. In some, you can. In the US, I understand you can't vote if you are in prison. In Kenya, you can't vote, not in every election. Some elections, for example, the referenda, prisoners are allowed to vote. And in fact, even in a general election, they are allowed to vote, but only for the president. They are not allowed to vote for the other offices. So it depends. To hold a political office or to run for a political office in many democracies, if you have been sentenced to a particular period in prison, then either you are disqualified, or if you file for bankruptcy, things like so. There are things that will stop you from, or will deny you your right to vote or to be elected into a political office. And Baruch talks about the same, but there are a few that, as I've said, that are quite different and controversial in today's world.